with Code Ninjas, we believe, and our motto is, kids have fun, parents see results. So on today's call, we're going to dig into that a little bit. We have a question and answer session that happens at the end of today's call, where you're going to be able to ask any questions you have in regards to Code Ninjas, any information that I cover today. The first 15, 20 minutes of today's call are just going to be that. We're going to talk about why we're franchise built. We're going to talk about our curriculum a little bit. We're going to give you a little bit of history on our company and on who we are. We'll talk about our support a little bit. And then at the very, very end, like I said, we're going to have that question and answer time where you just can hit *6, and that's going to enable you to ask a question, whether it's been something that's been lingering in your mind about Code Ninjas or if it's going to be something that I kind of mentioned today. And my name is Marty Flanagan. I am the Vice President of Franchising with Code Ninjas. We, as a company, we started building Code Ninjas in 2016. The founder of Code Ninjas, his name is David Graham. David Graham's been a coder, a programmer, entrepreneur his whole life, and he actually owned a school. He actually owned a school that taught adults how to code. And after about 4.5 years operating that in 18 different cities, he sold that to truly just 100% of his time focus on Code Ninjas. There wasn't a day that went by when he wasn't asked by either students or faculty that he worked with on how do they get more kids involved in this? How can we get more kids involved? How can I get my son and my daughter, my nephew, my neighbor's kid, how can I get them more involved in understanding this world of coding? And, David's goal in this whole thing was how can we get more kids to think like a coder? We want to focus on those critical thinking skills, problem-solving skills, collaboration, leadership, time management. How can we focus on those skills and have the younger generation think like a coder? So when you think of Code Ninjas and really what we've done, we teach kids how to code through a game-based curriculum. Our curriculum is made up of 9 belts. Those 9 belts have proprietary and exclusive content inside that. It's a proprietary blended curriculum, so we use some tools that are non-proprietary. We have quite a few bit of tools that are proprietary and exclusive to Code Ninjas that cannot be copied across the street. We have our proprietary textbooks along with our proprietary game development platform. So our system in itself works like this. We have 9 belts. Inside each one of those belts is a learned set of skills. Once they learn that, they show that they've learned those set of skills, that those concepts as they work through the belt, they have to build a game that requires those skills, and that's how they progress all the way through each belt. Each belt compounds onto one another. So as David was going through and really creating this curriculum before we launched as a franchise, he looked back at his entire entrepreneurial career, as he was owning his own school that taught adults how to code. He also was a franchisee prior to that. And he saw the power of connecting with other franchisees, and he saw the power of being a franchise. And he knew from day one that this needed to be a franchise, that Code Ninjas needed to be a franchise. So we are a franchise-built company. What that means to you is that everything we've done is we wear the hat of the franchisee. Is every partner that we have, every company that we've teamed up with, whether it's going to be construction and design, whether it's going to be our signage, whether it's going to be financing, our insurance, every company we've teamed up with, our real estate partners, they, quote-unquote, speak franchisee. And that was really important to us. As we're a franchisee-built company, we did not own and operate multiple centers before turning into a franchise. We built our company from day one to be a franchise. So what's that mean? Well, last year at this time, we had 1 center open. Last year at this time, we had our Pearland, Texas location open, and that was it. We had 0 franchise territories sold and 1 center open. Today, we're approaching 185 sold locations across the U.S. We are at 6 centers open, and we have over 40 centers opening in the next 90 days. And how do we know that? Because when one of our franchisees signs a lease, we know we're not about 90 days from opening, and we have over 40 signed leases today. So we're looking at having quite a few centers open over the next 90 days, and we are looking forward to the release of our new FDD, which comes out in about 2 weeks. We're going to be releasing our new FDD, which comes with our new franchise fees, and it also comes with a lot more data. So when you think about our growth, that's pretty incredible. Only 1% of all franchise systems in the world have 100 or more locations open after 24 months of business. And we will be there at the end of 2018. We will be in that 1%. What that means is the market has responded to Code Ninjas. They have responded. Our franchisees, entrepreneurs, parents have responded to how the Code Ninja system is built. That curriculum that I talked about, those 9 belts, that's about 3 years worth of curriculum that a student would go through. And our age range, if you didn't know, is 7 to 14 years old. We have 5 different revenue streams. The one I just talked about is called our drop-in program. Our drop-in program is a flexible learning system where students come in at mom and dad's convenience. They stay for about an hour, and they come in about twice a week. So they can stay for as long as an hour, and they can come in for up to 2 times a week. And that'll allow them to work through the curriculum. In about 3 years, we are a self-paced program, but we are not a self-taught program. Our Code Senseis are going to work with our students because they will get stuck. So when they come in and they grab a textbook and they sit down and start to work themselves through the curriculum, whether it's a robotics day or whether they're going to be having screen time that day, they will get into a pinch and they will need the Code Senseis to work with them. We run, with our Code Senseis, we can run a 10-to-1 ratio, 10 students to every 1 Code Sensei. So when you think about how we are going to help you be successful with all of this, no matter what your business acumen is, we are a franchise support-focused company. And what that means is before we even sold our first franchise, before the first franchisee became a part of the Code Ninja family, we already had our compliance support in place. We had our operational support in place. What that means is that you get a person that's going to help you, that's dedicated to helping you with compliance. You're also going to have a person that's dedicated to help you with operations. We also have something called Code Ninja University, which is going to help you give you more online resources, like a WikiDoc that helps you with online resources and just content for you to use. One of the most popular tools that we have is our collaboration tools, that when you become a franchisee or you hire a manager, they're immediately connected, a center director, they're immediately connected to all the Code Ninjas across the country. We encourage, we cultivate those relationships. We encourage them because working with your franchisee partners all across the country, you're able to share best practices immediately. It is something that you're going to be able to collaborate with and learn from immediately. Now, that's great for some people. Some people don't don't want to be on that online resource, but you can also reach out to them at any time. So when you think about what we're doing for our support, we have all this in place before we sold our very first franchisee. So we wanted to make sure that we had our support tools in place, and it's constantly growing, constantly developing, and we're making sure that we have it in place for you to be successful. We give you digital marketing strategies when you open. We give you a 12-week marketing template to follow before you open. Another thing we do before you open is we walk through your projection documents with you. We want to make sure you fully understand what you're getting into with Code Ninjas before you become a franchisee. So we have our Code Ninja business plans. We have projection documents that myself or Jeff Thames will walk you through to be sure you fully understand what you're getting into and where you're going. In fact, that projection document is required for you to be invited to one of our Discovery Days. Our Discovery Days are hosted on the second Thursday of every month. We have limited spots available. We only allow about 25 people per Discovery Day to attend. So if it's something you're interested in being a part of, you definitely want to connect with myself or Jeff Thames. My name is Marty, if you just joined us, and we will work with you and see if we can get you invited, if that makes sense, for you to come to a Discovery Day. And that's where you get to meet the team. We host those in Pearland, Texas at our corporate office. Our very first center is about 2 miles up the road. We're also going to be walking through the center and touring the center, so you'll be able to see that as well. So those Discovery Days, we call them learning channels, like today's call is a learning channel. We also have our Discovery Days where you can be invited in and be a part of that. We like to have the group there all be in the same place and all kind of done the same amount of work. So it is by invitation only. So make sure you connect with myself or Jeff to see if that works for you. So to give you kind of just a brief idea of how Code Ninja works, that is really the bird's eye view. We run a very transparent system, a very clear system. Right now, in terms of our franchise, our new FDD, which comes out in about 10 days, if you are looking at becoming a part of the Code Ninja family, you're going to need to have that new FDD in about 10 days. If you have the current one, you're going to have to be redisclosed here shortly with all the new information. So with that being said, now we kind of move towards that question and answer time. So if there's anything that you had questions on based on what I said today and you want to learn more, you feel free to hit *6, and I'll be able to, that'll virtually raise your hand, and that'll allow me to, for you to be able to ask any questions you might have. So whether it's a question that, like I said, has been lingering in your mind about what are our future plans, or what do we do about this, or what do we do about that, or how big are your territories, feel free to jump in and ask any one of those questions that you have about Code Ninjas, about franchising. And again, it's *6 to ask any of those questions. Hi, you have a question?
Hi there, yes. I'm calling from Washington State, and is there anything about personnel support that you would offer for the franchisees?
So when you say personnel support, now can you help me with that? Are you meaning like job descriptions, interview questions? Yes, we provide job descriptions. We give you a brief written profile of who to look for, where to find them. So we guide you with a duplicatable path that we've seen to finding code senseis and finding a center director.
I see. So this will be each franchisee owner on their own, though, in terms of hiring process, right? So will HQ have any input into that?
We do not have any input on who you hire. It really comes back down to you, being that it's your business, right? You're the one providing the leadership and the guidance. We want to make sure that you have full control over who you hire in there.
Thank you.
Thank you. Hi, you have a question?
Yes, I was just hoping to get some insight on how to pick the best location.
So what we do is we actually work with you directly in your market, and we'll find you an area, a territory, and then once we find you a territory and we see that that territory is viable, whether we do some data mining, we look at the history of growth from 2015, 2016, 2017 in student count and income, we have the tools to help us do that. We work with you. And also, when you become a franchisee, or once your territory is chosen, we have our preferred real estate company that will help you with negotiating your lease, finding locations, and negotiating your lease with you.
Okay. Okay, excellent. Thank you.
Awesome. All right, thank you. Hi, you have a question?
Yes. Just wanted to see, what is the minimum requirement of square footage from your centers?
Great, that's a great question. So we look at anywhere from 1,200 to 3,200 square feet. When you look at that 1,200 square feet, that is meant for more of a rural market than it's going to be meant for a metro area. So we do have standards on ceiling height and width of our space as well. But in our FDD, we go over at 1,200 to 3,200 square feet is your range.
Okay, so another question is, demographically, if I have a location set that I like to do, is that going to be a problem, or do we have to get approved by you?
Every location and every territory has to be approved by the corporate office. Every building, like every space that you go into, we're giving you one of our babies, right? So we want to make sure that everything has to be approved from the demographics, the territory, and the building itself. We don't go into office spaces. We don't go into office retail. We are a strip mall kind of retail, traditional retail franchise. Is that helpful?
Yes, thank you.
Awesome, thank you. Hi, you have a question?
Yeah, hi. So I am in Southern California, and where I am, actually, my location, I'm around Irvine. There are tons of coding academies, and also a lot of the schools offer them. So how does that make you different than the other ones? And I'm sorry, I came in a little late, so I wanted to see if you have any insights on that.
Yeah, well, there's actually quite a few differences, but we have to really break down which particular ones you're talking about. But let's just go with the bird's eye view of it. We have our curriculum is made up of it's a proprietary blend and exclusive curriculum. So this is not something where somebody could open up across the street and do what Code Ninjas is doing. Our proprietary textbooks, our proprietary game development platform, what we have put in place is not something that somebody can just take across the street. For example, if you look at every kid's coding program out there that is a brick and mortar store like Code Ninjas, they are focused around a curriculum that's licensed. So it's not something that can be, that's something that I could literally open up across the street and do the exact same curriculum that they're doing. There's nothing stopping me from doing the same curriculum that the other centers are out there doing. So that's one big difference. We also have 5 different revenue streams where they have one. So there's on the entrepreneurial side, as a business side, we're giving you so many options to be able to produce revenue inside your center.
Okay.
And we're an experience. We're not just a curriculum-focused company. This is about a total experience as well.
Right. Just because I know like a lot of even the elementary schools are offering STEAM and coding classes. I mean, my son alone is already doing coding, and it's offered in public schools. So I'm just trying to see.
No, and you're right, it is. And that really gives, what that really does, which is great about that, it builds awareness. Because schools can't go very deep, just like with math or reading. But you look at Kumon, you look at Mathnasium. A lot of schools offer swimming lessons, but yet there's swim schools all over the place. It's because the public school system does a really, really good job of just scratching the surface, of giving them that little bit of experience. But then when they come into our environment, it digs so much deeper and takes them so much further than what they're ever going to learn in the school system.
Right. And obviously you're going to show us all the curriculums beforehand, right, to the interested.
So as you go through this process with us, and like you would come to Discovery Day, this is where we work through the more detailed information. So we don't have videos online for people to see and dig into. We want to share more detailed information for those who are really serious and want to go down this road with us. And they see our vision. They see themselves matching up with us as a good team. We feel the same about them. And then we like to dig in as we go down the process, go down this road together.
Of course. Okay, great. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you. Hi, you have a question? Hi, do you have a question? Hi, do you have a question? Hello?
Oh,
hi,
can you hear
me?
Yes.
Yes, I got you.
Okay. Before that, I had a logistical question. Do you want me to ask all the questions at the same time or one at a time?
Fire away.
Okay.
Let's do it.
All right. So what's the average student enrollment across all your centers?
So anything that's going to be give you an ability to produce some kind of mathematical equation for revenue, I cannot go over unless it's inside of our FDD. So inside the federal disclosure document, there's something called an Item 19. And then the Item 19 is the only revenue or financial information that I'm going to be able to share. Currently inside that Item 19, there's only 54 days in business because it's last year's FDD and the new one comes out in about 10 days. That 54 days first 54 days, we created $32,000 in revenue. We enrolled 68 monthly paying tuition students, averaging around $190 a month per student. That was the first 54 days in business. Now, obviously, we've been in business for almost a year, and a lot of those revenue numbers from us being open a year and some of the numbers from our centers that have been open for the past few months will be in our new FDD item 19.
I see. Okay. And for the
I can tell you a really cool number. We're at about a 5% attrition rate at Pearland, Texas. And we went through a hurricane, and we're at a 5% attrition rate. That's pretty incredible.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. For each franchisee location, when you say the territory and location will be decided by the headquarters, do you have a sense of, or can you give us a sense of what is the approximate, in terms of area that each franchisee is offered to operate in? Meaning that is it like 2 suburbs or 1 suburb, and in terms of square kilometers that are covered, do you have multiple locations in the same suburb, that kind of stuff?
Sure. So how our territories work, it's really actually pretty simple. When we find a territory, we go by demographics. We look for at least a 70,000 median household income, and we look for there's actually 2 different equations we go by. The first one is going to be we look for a 70,000 median household income, and we look for at least 5,000 kids in our age range. Now, that's the one bird's eye view. So anything over that is great, right? Now there's another one that is going to be you could have a little bit lower of income but a higher number of kids. So if your median household income, for example, is 60,000, but you have more than 10,000 kids in our age range, those are pretty close to equal type of markets because you have twice as many kids and only about a $10,000 less median household income. That's also considered a viable market in some cases. We just need to do a little bit more research and look at where that's at before we approve it. How our territories work is that we do a 2 to 3 mile radius depending on those demographic numbers. So the 2 to 3 mile radius, we also have another policy that we have internally where we don't stack code ninjas on top of one another. So what that means to you as a franchisee, the value that is, let's just say you have a 2.5 mile radius. We will not put a code ninjas 2.6 miles away from you. Okay, that's stacking code ninjas on top of one another. You're fighting over the same students. That's not our program. The most we let territory borders encroach on one another is a half mile. And the numbers have to be overwhelming to allow that to happen. We're not going to allow a half mile encroachment on territory border to territory border unless those numbers are pretty overwhelming and they would support code ninjas being that close together. We're not a franchise that wants to stack code ninjas on top of one another every 2.5 miles because then it can really erode the culture and the teamwork with inside the franchisees. So we're really careful about that.
Right. So do you allow multiple franchisee ownerships?
Yes. Our franchisees currently, there's an average of 2 locations per franchisee right now that we have. We average about 2 per.
I see. And from start to finish, if you start, say, today, enrolling in and starting the application process and getting in touch with you guys with the discovery stuff and whatnot, how long does it take to actually get operational?
From the day you sign your franchise agreement to the day you open is 7.1 months currently.
Okay.
On average. So. All right?
All right, cool. Thank you very much.
Awesome. All right, no, thank you for your questions. Appreciate it. Hi, you have a question?
Yes. So you will help the franchisees with location and, picking the right place and whatnot. What about equipment and layout? Is that something that has to be uniform throughout all franchises as well?
Yes, it has to be uniform. We work with a company called Wadsworth Design, and all of our centers, we want them all to look. We have a construction manual and a design manual, so that everything matches in all of our centers. Square feet will be different, right? But
okay, so it's something that's going to be provided by you guys for the franchisees?
Yes, of course. Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Awesome, thank you. Hi, you have a question?
Yeah, so a little bit earlier, I think you mentioned 5 revenue streams. Could you go into more detail on that?
So what I'll do is I'll mention them, and then to go in on detail on all those streams and how they work in more detail, that's when you're going to want to definitely connect with Jeff Thames and myself to talk about those in more detail. But when you look at our 5 revenue streams, we have something, our drop-in program, which I mentioned earlier. We have our after-school program. We also have our parents' night out. We also do all of our camps, right, which is a nice revenue stream between summer camps, winter camps, spring camps. Being that we are an actual building, every time there's not school, you can be running a camp. And then the last one is birthday parties. So those are our current 5 revenue streams, and we're always looking to how we can add more. Our camp offerings are obviously summertime. Those are very popular between whether it's coding drones or we're looking at a couple of RC car coding camps and everything, hackathons and beginning JavaScript and all that fun stuff that we do. We have an exclusive robotics camp that's right around the corner as well. So camps are a fantastic way to include, have revenue kind of sprinkle in whenever there's not school.
Got it. And also, are you planning for any sort of national advertising campaign through the corporation, or will all advertising be on responsibility of the franchisee?
So we actually recently just made that decision to allow the franchisees to focus on their local market. When you're an emerging franchise, it's going to take quite a few years for us to build up enough money to run an effective national advertising campaign. Our marketing director, Andy Giefer, is very experienced in this area, and we work with a PR firm. So we have a pretty good grasp of what it would look like to do a national advertising campaign and how long that would take. And we made a decision recently to really focus on our franchisees marketing locally in their market versus a national campaign. They're going to see faster results doing something locally than us waiting a couple of years to take pieces of the revenue to do a national campaign.
Got it. So, but will you have marketing materials then to
We
provide?
do already. Okay. Yeah, we already do. We have full digital marketing campaigns. We have full marketing recipes already for you to follow.
Okay.
And like I said, we also work with a PR firm that you have the ability to work with as well.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Hi, you have a question? Hi, do you have a question? Hello, do you have a question?
Oh, yes. First of all, I'm really excited about this. This is a great concept. What are the options for financing?
So we actually work with, that's one other aspect of being that franchise built. We actually work with franchise, what they call financial brokers that focus on franchising. So we work with Guidance and we work with Benetrends. Those are 2 top franchising financial brokerages that we work with, and we connect you with them, and then their job is to find you financing, whether it's through SBA, which is a government-backed loan, whether it's going to be direct lending, whether it's going to be retirement rollovers or home equity lines of credit or whatever it might be. They look at all these different aspects of your resources and guide you through that process.
Okay, excellent. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you. Hi, you have a question?
Yes, just a couple questions actually. As far as, let's say we start the business and we get up and running, and after 1 year something happens and we need to sell the business, what's the process of that?
So anytime you want for an exit strategy, we're here to help you. So if something happens and you want to leave the system, we'll help you prep your business for sale. We'll help you prep your Code Ninja for sale and make it attractive to the marketplace. Obviously, if you no longer want to be there for whatever reason it may be or can't be there for whatever reason, we obviously want to get somebody else in there as soon as we can. So it's only in our best interest to help you with selling your Code Ninjas if you would like us to.
Okay. And what is usually, I know that range is about, let's just say about 150 to 200,000 startup. What is the upfront cost as far as the franchise fees? I know that's about, 20 grand, right? Around there.
Yeah, it's about to go. But that's going up. Yeah. Yes.
Okay. So as far as a startup, if we sign the contract, we get going, what's the first initial money that we have to come up with?
Well, that's really going to depend. But typically, the first monies you're going to have to come up with is going to be related to your space. So architectural drawings, that usually in the beginning stages, down payment for your landlord when it comes to getting into your space.
Yeah, I understand that, but to you guys, so to you guys, we need to come up with the franchise fee of upfront.
Correct.
Am I correct? Or is
correct?
Okay, sounds good.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
And usually, how fast is the process as far as you making the decision on if we have a location or demographic that we're interested in, and what is the time frame of that?
Well, pretty much if you've been working with me or Jeff, we turn that around pretty quickly. I mean, usually we can know by just looking at it. We'd be looking at the numbers. So just make sure you connect with Jeff or myself.
Yeah, so if we're serious, then we decide that we want to move forward with, and you have the demographic and you approve, then what's the turnaround time that we could actually sign and pen and contract?
Well, you have to have the FDD in hand for 15 days. So if you haven't even received that yet, the turnaround time, the minimum, is 15 days from the day you receive the FDD.
Okay, how do we get the FDD?
So in the situation that you're in right now, if you've not received an FDD, and what state are you in?
California.
Okay, so in the state of California, the new FDD will be submitted for every franchise every year, goes through the FDD process where they have to get their FDD approved by the state, by each individual state, especially registered states like the state of California. The soonest that you're going to see the FDD in the state of California is probably going to be end of April, because the state of California has a little bit longer of approval process. So you would be able to see the new FDD towards the end of April, and then you'd have to have it in your hands for 15 days before you'd be able to purchase your territory.
Okay. My last question, have you guys done any type of transported after-school program?
Yes. That's what our after-school program is picking up. We do a program where we're picking up kids and bringing them to our center.
Okay. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you for your questions. Hi, you have a question?
Yeah, hi. I was kind of piggyback on someone else's question about hiring people. So if you don't have experience, are you guys going to train at least the owners until we understand how everything works? And then what if we hire someone, how do we know that they are, if they meet the criteria? I mean, we could possibly think that they do, but is there anyone that you guys send out to at least get us started?
Well, so we have new franchisee training. New franchisee training currently right now is 3 days, but the larger our groups become, we're going to be stretching it out to 4 days. New franchisee training is where you yourself would come, and then you're going to be bringing your center director. If you're not going to be the center director, you're going to be bringing your center director with you. So you're going to be enrolling students a month before you open. So when you come to new franchisee training, it's typically 30 to 45 days before you are going to be opening your center for business. You're going to be coming to new franchisee training where we're working with you. You also have a dedicated person that's going to be helping you through this process inside the corporate office, inside of our support. And that's ongoing. We don't just have support until your business is open. This is ongoing support. We're not producing revenue if you're not producing revenue. So it's in our best interest to be sure that your team is trained, whether we're providing online resources, conference calls. We have weekly owner conference calls right now. Obviously, we have our collaboration board where there's 10 different threads and owners talking about all over the country that are constantly sharing best practices, training people in what they're paying, how they're training them in, when they bring them in, when they start training them in. So we're constantly working with you to be sure you have an agenda in place for training your coach senseis, where to find them, what makes a good candidate, your center directors, same thing. What makes a good candidate? What are good questions to ask? Where can you find these people? And you're also comparing those notes to every other Code Ninja owner out there. And then that's a reciprocal relationship, because once you get through that stage, then you're going to want to be sharing and helping new franchisees coming aboard as well.
Okay, great. Sounds good.
Helpful? Is that helpful?
Yeah,
awesome.
That's helpful. Okay,
All right,
thank you.
Thank you. Hi, you have a question?
Yes. Hi. So whom do you consider as a competitor today to Code Ninja?
That's kind of a broad question because anything that fights for our kids' time would be really competition.
No, in terms of
Yeah, so you have the Coder School and you have iCode out there. Those are two places that are franchises. I mean, if we're talking about franchising side of things, those are two systems out there, the Coder School and iCode. The Coder School has been franchising for about 7 years now, and they have 11 locations after 7 years. And then you have iCode. They've been franchising for about 3 years, and they have 1 location.
Okay.
So it's just we're just a different model. We're a completely different model than they are, and that's why we have 185 sold territories after 12 months.
All right. So what kinds of technologies do you use?
Now, when you say technologies, what are you asking?
I'm asking what's your platform like? Do we require to have? Are the franchisees required to have laptops, iPads? What kinds of equipment, and then also what kinds of platforms do these kids learn? Like, what are they learning?
Well, so when it comes to, I'm sorry, what?
Coding is so broad. So what would these kids be learning is the second question I have.
Okay, so a couple of things with that. One, we built our own platform. So that's what we built, our platform that our curriculum lives on, which is in the cloud, so there's no updating that you have to do as a franchisee. Everything we do is on a laptop, and we give you all of the tools to be able to understand what the specs are for that laptop, because there's a couple different stages with that. Obviously, I'm not sure if you were listening earlier, also heard that we have an exclusive robotics program as well within inside of Code Ninjas. So when you look at what they're learning, when you kind of go to that approach, because coding is broad, there's a few things that coding's not so broad on. And what makes a great coder. A great coder, a great programmer can pick up a language over the weekend, but what they can't do is pick up those critical thinking skills, problem-solving skills, time management, collaboration, leadership. Those skills they can't pick up over a weekend, and that's what we focus on.
Okay. So when they were building these games, obviously they're writing code, I'm guessing. What are they doing? Is it like Python? Is it something else? What are they doing?
Sure. So we focus on, and there's a couple things here. It sounds like you haven't really dug into Code Ninjas very much, so it might be really good to get on a one-on-one call with Jeff or myself as well, so you get a better understanding what Code Ninjas is about. But one thing, we teach JavaScript inside of our belt system. We focus on JavaScript. So
and that's okay. And then robotics, it might be something else.
Yeah, robotics will stick very similar to like what Scratch is. I mean, Scratch is a beautiful tool, and we actually use a little bit of that in our white belt. Okay, so primarily though, for all the belts, it's JavaScript based. True. True. Okay. The other question I have for is like, how often do you guys change the curriculum, or do you see a need to change the curriculum at all in your current experience with your current experience? So we tell everybody the same thing. Our curriculum is complete but never finished. Belts 1 through 9 are complete. There's a complete path from belts 1 to belt 9, but but we're never finished. It's always being revised. It's always being updated. It's always being sharpened. It's never just going to sit and marinate in its own juices. It's always going to be made better. Okay. Especially with technology changing. I mean, we use JavaScript right now because it is the most prolific language used on the marketplace today. And it's easiest for kids to get wins out of and understand. I mean, they're not sitting at a computer and writing code for an hour a day. That's not what they're doing. So, I mean, now maybe later on, down the deeper into the belts we get, they may have to be doing some of that. But there's more to this than just them sitting behind a computer, with their face 2 inches away writing code for, an hour to 2 hours a week. Okay. That's not fun. You'll lose so many kids so fast. That's not fun. That's why these other centers are not retaining their students, and why we have a 5% attrition, because they're playing games. We're Jedi mind tricking them into learning code through a game-based curriculum. Okay. Got it. Thank you. Awesome. Thank you. Hi, you have a question?
Yes. So your demographic for the students is 7 to 14 years old. Any specific reason that age group, and why not higher? Have you done some research on that?
So when it comes to 7 to 14 years old, that's 7 to 14, that is where we are. That's really where the market demand is at. When it comes to reading and comprehension, being that we have our own proprietary textbooks, we have a few 6-year-olds in the program, but we found that 7 was really where they were hitting their stride. 14, I'm not sure if you have a 15-year-old, but their world changes from 14 to 15 or even 13 to 15. So your market shrinks quite a bit in that age range. They have a little bit more free will and power to do what they want to do. Your market and just overall interest in coding at 15 years old, unless it's about social media, it might be difficult to keep them focused at 15 years old versus 7 to 14. 7 to 14 is where the market demand is right now. That is where parents, the majority of our franchisees came to us when they were looking for an option for their 7, 8, 9, 10, 11-year-old to learn how to code. Then they became franchisees. So they were looking for camps. They were looking for ways to teach their children, and they found Code Ninjas and opened up a franchise. So when you look at what parents are looking for in the market right now, not a lot of parents of 15-year-olds are looking how they can teach their kid how to code. But 7 to 14, those parents, that's what they're looking for.
Awesome.
I'm not saying there's not value. I'm not saying there's not value in that older program. In fact, we would love to incorporate a master path. But we want to be able to create our own master path and have our kids go into that master path and attract others. So,
yep. Makes sense. A follow-up question is that of the 5 revenue streams, which one is the most profitable for all the franchises?
The drop-in and the camps. Drop-in, camps, and parents' night out. So drop-in, camps, and parents' night out are the top 3.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Hi, you have a question? Hi, do you have a question?
Yes, I do. Do you require your franchisee to be hands-on in the day-to-day operation?
No, we do not.
Okay.
We require you to have a full-time center director, a full-time dedicated person, but we do not require that to be a franchisee.
Okay. Do you have any certain qualifications that you look for in a franchisee?
We are a little selective. So we ask for, we want people to see our vision. We want people to see the path that we have and want to be a part of it. So it's a process. It's a vetting out process. So as you're vetting us out, we're also vetting you out. And if at any time through the process, I'm sure if we're not a good fit for you, you're going to let us know. And that's going to be reciprocal. We're going to let you know.
What would be the next step after this call if you wish to continue?
Yeah, I would say connecting whoever. I'm sure you received it. If you haven't received an email, I'm sure you have received an email from myself. My name is Marty Flanagan or Jeff Thames. Just connect with the individual that sent you that original email. If you can't find it, email me at marty@codeninjas.com, and I'll make sure that I get you connected.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Hi, you have a question?
Hi. Are we allowed to visit or talk with one of the stores already that's operating?
If you're in the process with us, we will definitely connect you with owners that are the good problem that we have right now is we have hundreds and hundreds of people that want to connect with our centers. We only have about 6 centers open. So connecting with franchisees, not a problem. Connecting with one of our centers that's open may be a little bit more challenging just because our centers we have a limited number of centers open. But in 90 days, we'll have about 40 more. So it'll be a little bit easier to connect you with center owners. But it's also about being in the process. If you're not in the process, we are not going to connect you with a center owner. If we feel that you're not right for Code Ninjas, we're not going to connect you with a center owner. So it really comes down. And our owners, our franchisees, are very in tune with not connecting with people if they're not being directly introduced by somebody at the office.
Okay, great. As far as when you were talking about the customers, I understand that this is children-based curriculum and children-based programming and coding. But let's just say I understand that you have to follow the process. But let's just say a 16-year-old or a 40-year-old or 60-year-old that wants to learn how to code. Is that going to be a no, or is of each person or the owner? If you have a customer walking in, they want to try it out, is that going to be a problem?
Yes. We are 7 to 14 years old. If I brought my 9-year-old daughter there, I'm not going to want her sitting next to a 40-year-old man.
Okay.
Hi, do you have a question?
Yeah, my question is about your back-end systems. One of the advantages of being in a franchise organization is the statistical reporting and analysis later on to determine what things really do work versus don't. So I'm just curious to hear about how you'll be capturing all the data from all the different franchises.
Yeah, so we actually built our own system for Code Ninjas. So everything is built around Code Ninja focused data. So whether it's going to be your busiest times of the week, whether it's going to be the belt system on where kids are getting stuck or how long they're taking average per student based on their age. So we're going to know, for an example, we would be able to know, okay, this 8-year-old, the average 8-year-old girl is working through the curriculum at this pace. The average 8-year-old boy is working through the curriculum at this pace. So we're going to be able to know based on their age, based on how fast they're going through the belts, where they're getting stuck, how often they come in, the busiest days of the week. We built the system for Code Ninjas so we can make advancements to our system when needed based on franchisee needs or based on what we're seeing, what kind of data we need to help our franchisees be more successful.
Great. And a follow-up question. So at this point, what of that information is available to the franchise owners?
So at this point, the franchise owners, they would call in, and then we would give them a report. So if they wanted to say, my busiest times of the week, when are they? We can actually give them a report so they'll be able to see when the busiest days of the week are. We just did it in our Pearland location, for example, and we were able to see that Tuesdays, for some reason, are our busiest day of the week was Tuesday. But Wednesdays were like one of our slowest days of the week. So we can actually see, we can actually run the data, give it to the franchisee so they can plan accordingly for traffic counts inside their center, who needs to be on call on typically what day of the week. So if they need to plan for 2 code senseis to be there or just 1, but 1 may have to be on call, they'll be able to make plans for that.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Hi, you have a question?
Yes. First question was answered earlier on how to continue the conversation by emailing yourself or replying to an email from Jeff. But what is the overall guidelines on the process and checkpoints to proceed from this call to opening? I think you've mentioned several different parts of the process, but not kind of a general linear path on checkpoints to open.
Yeah, so we work with you individually on those because everybody will be a little bit different. We're going to have some people come to us with real estate already in hand. We're going to have some people come to us, they have nothing ready to go. They have no financing, they have no territory, they have no idea where to start. So it all depends on your business acumen and where you're at and as an individual in your process, and we customize that for you as a person. So, do we have a clear path? Yes. Is there measurables? Yes. But you may have crossed 10 of those already, and where somebody else is at number 1.
All right, great. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you. Hi, you have a question?
Yes, a few questions. Do the franchises have flexibility on the days when the program is available or made available to enrollees?
Well, it has to be available Monday through Friday. If you choose to be open Saturdays and Sundays, that's completely up to you.
I see. Okay. And then in terms of, you talked about franchises can be owned by, an owner can have multiple franchises. Is there a preferential process where, for a new market where there are no nearby existing franchises, and can the offer be made for multiple franchises at the same time and start the process?
So, I mean, when it comes to the numbers always have to make sense to be able to purchase a territory.
Sure.
The income could be through the roof, but if the student count isn't there, we're not going to approve that territory. So all the numbers have to make sense when it comes to purchasing or securing a territory. The numbers make sense and it's secured and it's open and we feel great about it and you feel great about it, we're going to move forward.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Hi, you have a question?
Hi, I have two questions. One is with regards to tech support with all the equipment and the programs. I'm assuming that the programs are going to be, I'm kind of assuming that they're not an internet-based, but they're actually software-based at the franchise level, or am I wrong in that?
Everything is on the cloud, so it's all internet-based.
Okay, so it's on the
cloud. There's no software. Yeah, there's no software you have to download or update at your center.
Okay. So then the next question is, with regards to the equipment, would we be responsible for having our own tech support in-house? Do you have somebody that you would work, like we would work directly with you or call in or a tech support?
Yes, you would work with us on that.
Okay. So as far as the hardware goes, the laptops, et cetera, that as well is going to be worked through home office.
Well, no. If you buy a laptop at Costco and it fits all of our specs, but something's wrong with the laptop, you're not going to call Code Ninjas because something's wrong with the laptop that you purchased from Costco.
Right.
You're going to call Costco. But if something is wrong with the software in terms of if you're getting an error message, that's more than likely not a laptop issue. That's going to be an issue that you would call and connect with our tech support.
With your tech support. Okay. And then the second question I have is, once you secure a franchise location, so let's say I want to do multiple locations, do you have a time frame in which I have to open those locations once I purchase that territory? And what's that time frame?
So your first location, you have to have let's go with the new FDD timeline because that's what you'd be going off of unless you're going to be securing a territory in the next 7 days. You would be using the new FDD. So you have 4 months to get us a lease, and then usually when you get us a lease, you're 90 days from opening.
Okay.
So the timeline for your first one is going to be 7 months, which right now we're 7.1 months, so it's right on where it should be. From the day you open your first location, you have 12 months to open your second location. So we give you a pretty good amount of time from the day you open your first to the day you have to open your second.
But I can purchase that territory prior to opening my first. Correct.
You're going to purchase it in the beginning, and that's called an area development agreement or an ADA. So you're going to purchase that up front, and then so that's what gives you that timeline. Let's give you an example. Let's say you only bought one territory, and then 4 months later you said, "Hey, I'm going to buy another one." You're not on that 12-month timeline. You're on the timeline from the day you bought that location because you did not do an ADA.
Okay, I understand. Okay, thank you.
Awesome. Thank you. Great questions. All right, last question. So you have a question?
Yes, sir. Just another question about revenue. As far as your gross revenue, when you're talking about 1,200 square foot to about 2,500 square foot, I understand that the ratio is about 10 to 1, correct?
Yep.
Okay, from 10 to 1, let's just say it's 1,200 square foot. What is your average right now gross revenue in the centers right now per month, high to low?
Well, sure. No, great question. So like I mentioned earlier, you're not going to hear any revenue numbers that are not clearly laid out inside of our franchise disclosure document. In franchising, you cannot share revenue numbers that are not in what's called your item 19 inside your FDD. You can't do it. So great question, but I'm not going to be able to answer that.
Okay. I'm seeing here on the map your Code Ninja location, 158 centers. Is that currently updated, or is that from a month ago?
That's not updated. We have 185 sold centers.
Okay, so the ones that we see listed on the location nearby, the one that is listed at least, those are the standard that's approved and they're ready to go.
Yeah, those are sold. Everything you see on our website is sold. They're not available to purchase.
Okay.
But if you'd like to find a territory available to purchase, you'd want to connect with myself or Jeff, and we would help you find an available territory in your market.
Okay, sounds good.
Awesome. All right, thank you. Okay, well, I want to say thanks to everybody for taking the time to join today's call. You can see the question and answer we love the best. I mean, that is the best part of this call. That was 45 minutes of question and answer, and it was awesome. I love the rapid fire, love the questions. If you have more questions on Code Ninjas, you want to get the new FDD, which comes out in about 10 days, you're going to want to connect with myself, Marty, at codeninjas.com, or Jeff Thames, jeff.thames@codeninjas.com. If you've been speaking to one of us, connect with us. We will help you with getting the information you need. If you'd like to come to a Discovery Day and you want to be invited to one of those, because they are by invitation only, let's work on that together to see if we can get you into a Discovery Day if it makes sense for all of us. So I want to say thanks again for joining today's call. We host these each and every week, and we record them so you're going to be able to come back and listen to them. We put them on our YouTube channel. Thanks again. Feel free to reach out to me anytime, Marty at codeninjas.com. If you want to call me, you can also do that. I'm open to phone calls, 763-516-3578. That's 763-516-3578. Feel free to call me anytime. Send me an email, Marty at codeninjas.com. Be more than happy to answer all your questions. Thanks again for joining today's call.